here with our second part of our Mastery sewing machine, and Lisa's going to be doing the sewing end of it and taking you through, and I'll kind of talk you through your Mastery workbook. Remember that you can, I think you can go to our website.
You can, right now, you can go to the Mastery video part 1, open the description, and download your Mastery workbook right from the YouTube video.
Yeah, there you go. So you really want this copy of this, because this is a great thing to put into a binder and have it at your side if you have questions at some point. If we don't use something over and over, you don't remember it. And so with that, have this available to you to be able to do that. So with that, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start and get Lisa going on the sewing machine. So we'll just join us at the machine. Thank you. I think, Lisa, if I'm remembering right, we had talked about the left-hand side of the screen, about foot recognition, that the 770 does not recognize the feet, but everything else does. The 570, 590, 790, and 880 will recognize the foot when you put it in. If you don't, let's go here.
Well, let's clarify that. They recognize that you have put a different foot on than what is selected. They will not automatically switch to the correct foot. You have to go in here and select the foot.
Right.
The 770 will also recognize if you have the wrong foot for the technique you're doing. It, however, will not let you change the foot in the menu. So if I was to touch this button on the 770, I would get an info button that would tell me all about that foot, but it wouldn't change the number over here.
The number over here stays at, I think, 1C or 1D.
Something like that,
One
yeah.
of them. And so, but everything, all the other machines do recognize, tell you it within this window.
So you can click on it and it'll then change this.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So we've talked about that. We talked about our the security on there, about the 0 millimeter or 9 millimeter, that if you put in a 0 millimeter plate, to make sure to change it, and that, and everything else on that left hand side. We've also showed you all the settings in the settings. We've done the changing on the settings. We've talked about the hover, how to get the hover, that your needle has to be in the down position for your your hovering to work. If it isn't in the permanent down position, hover does not work. Now let's go ahead. I want you to look at in the right hand, we've also talked about the width and the stitch length.
Just as an FYI, what page are we on?
We are going to be on page 11, and we're going to be talking, is it page 11?
12, I think.
12.
Because we did the needle thing.
Yeah, I was going to show them the transition. On page 9, I'm sorry, page 9 at the bottom, and it says transitions. So instead of scrolling in your designs, like that, and never flick, always hold and scroll. Maybe
really?
You can't, because
no, you can't. It doesn't go that way. It goes this way.
Right.
So to scroll, we would have to, no.
It won't on the 790. On the 770,
you can scroll.
You can scroll.
You can do it on feet. No, you can't.
No, it's because you have your windows that moves you forward.
Well, that's a good thing to know. If I were to open my foot again, no, you can't do it on 790.
You have to use the page up and page down.
Who knew?
Yeah.
You learn something every day.
All right.
On the whoa.
Wow.
Ruffler. I put the ruffler on. Cool.
Okay, so if you look at there's on with your your stitches here, you have a little arrow. Touch that. What that does is that will open up the screen so that you can see the stitches a lot easier. And you can touch it again and it will close it.
So in computer lingo, this is a twisty.
It's a what?
A twisty.
I think I call it a thingamabob.
It's a twisty. We opened our twisty.
Yeah. So you can do that with any of your stitches, your designs and that. You have that transition window available to you if that's how you like to do it. Now, if I'm doing alphabets, go ahead and touch your alphabet. And touch the very first. Now, I like to be able to, when I'm doing multiple designs, which is coming up later, but it opens up this whole screen so I can just go ahead and touch what I need, okay? So it's easier in the alphabets, I think, lettering this area. All right, so that tells you that. Now we have talked about the presser feet and the recognition of them.
We did that.
We've talked about security, the program for the needle. We've talked about the stitch plate security. Now we are going to move ahead and we're going to be on page 12. And on page 12 it's talking about the I menu or the information menu. So go ahead and touch that. This is where you can go in and you can make some different changes on your on the stitch that you're doing or the design that you're doing. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the bottom, at the lower bottom of the screen. You have that, the very first one looks like a J, is your reverse. Now what that will do, I want you to go ahead and touch that. Now I want you to sew. And I want you to move down. Don't start at the beginning, move down.
You stitch with your left foot, don't you?
I do. Do you see what it's doing? It's permanently stitching backwards. And you ask, well, when would I use that? When I used to work at St. Bede's as the tailor there, you'd have people come in, the priest would come in and they'd want you to mend their pants. And it's always, it's always in the knee area. Well, I could go in there with my BERNINA at the time, and I could put on the reverse, this button here that made it a permanent reverse instead of me holding the reverse in and sewing backwards and then releasing the reverse and coming forwards to do mending. So you can hit the permanent reverse. When I get down back to where I want to be, then I'm going to hit that again, and now I'm going to sew forward. And so it was just a way of moving back and forth without a lot of trouble and that. Now, if on your 790, you have directional stitching. So you don't even have to do that. We would go into that directional stitching and it's a breeze. When I had the 200, my BERNINA 200, the Artista, it had directional stitching on it. It was amazing. For that time, that's been a long time ago. All right, the next one. The next one is, and it talks to you, I will tell you on page 15. It talks about the reverse back stepping. And there's a lot of information in there, but basically what that does is that, let's say you're sewing, go ahead and touch that. And let's go out of there and go to a design, decorative design. That's fine. All right, go ahead and, no, yeah, it won't do it, will it? And it won't do it with that presser foot either.
It won't do it with a 1D?
Yes, it will, but it won't do it with your 0 millimeter.
Oh, you said razor foot. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I understood. It's sort of like that
All
paper
right.
machine.
All right, the paper machine. All right.
Okay. Now, go ahead and put on your number 8. Try your number 8 stitch. It didn't change. Because you did
Oh,
not
because I gotta
do
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, did you change from 97D? Don't change that. Go ahead and close out of there. I want to show them something. Now start sewing. Do you see what happened? It will not let you until you go in and change the presser foot. Okay, now we're ready to go. So go ahead and start stitching a little bit. And then stop, and let's just say your thread broke. I want you to stop stitching, and I want you to go into your information button, and I want you to push that, okay? Now start sewing again. Do you see how it moves back? So you could go back to where you were, and it should cover, if you're keeping that fabric straight, it should cover that stitching perfectly, because it's reversing back this pattern that it did. Now, what I found is that what would happen is that if you didn't, if you moved your fabric at all, and it wasn't, and then it, you know, of course, it's not going to stitch on the same stitches. But it's really kind of a neat thing if your thread breaks and you need to have that.
Or you want to do some securing stitches on a decorative stitch.
You could
and
do
you
that.
don't want to have a ding, 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 ding
Right,
thing.
you don't, and in fact, I had a lady call me the other day on the phone, and she asked, she said, she was doing something decorative, and she wanted to do a reverse. And she said, but every time I touch the reverse, it just does reverse back, straight stitch backwards. And then I showed her and told her to go into that, and she went, oh, that's how you do it. So that's your quick reverse.
Okay.
All right. Or your backstepping, I'm
Backstepping.
sorry. Okay, now I want you to go to straight stitch, go on to close out of that window, go to straight stitch, and I want you to, let's see what we're gonna do. Okay, we're going to do some straight stitching, but there are multiple ways of doing a securing stitch on the BERNINAs. And we're on page 14. I'm just kind of backstepping a little bit here. You have your securing that you can set up in your settings. I can set up to do a secure knot at the beginning of my sewing. I can set it up to do a secure knot at the end of my sewing. So I have that. I also have, go ahead and start stitching a little bit. And now I want you to push your reverse at the bottom. That will do a reverse. Now sew a little bit more. And let's say we got to the end of our seam, you can push reverse there, and it'll go back. All right, now I want you to go and I want you to hit the stitch number 5. And you can go ahead and start sewing. Do you see how it went backwards a few stitches? Now, if you notice, there has this reverse, the reverse symbol right there, and it's flashing. So when you get to the end of your seam, so let's go ahead and sew down to that fold, and then that will say that's the end of the seam. Now stop, push your quick reverse once, just push it in. Now start sewing. You notice how it went backwards, and now it's going to go ahead and cut your thread. So that's another way of doing a reverse stitch on there. the other one, of course, is with in your settings, you can set it up to do reverse stitching there. You can also set it up to do the tack downs there. Now, most of us don't like it there. And so,
Let me do it.
yeah, go ahead and do it. So there's a little bit, it did like, wait a minute, you're still on 5.
Oh,
You gotta
oops.
be on 1.
Don't look at that one.
That was a mistake.
That was a boo-boo. Don't look at that one.
Okay. Now you're on 1. So
Now look
now
at this
we
one.
have set this up in do you see how it did a little bit of a back tap? Now go ahead and cut your thread. And it's going to do a securing stitch, and then it's gonna cut.
I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I don't like waiting that long.
No, that's forever. Okay, taking that off.
Taking
and
that off.
off.
Right.
Okay.
So, but there are people that really like that.
Yeah.
And so what BERNINA has done for you is that it has given you the ability to choose and custom make your sewing machine to fit you.
You have many options.
So, all right. So now we're going to go back to the I menu because I want to show you something else that's pretty cool.
Go back to page what?
I don't even, yeah, page 12 we'll go back to.
You jump around.
I do.
Okay. On page 12.
On page 12.
Okay.
And I want you to go ahead and touch your eye. And I want you to go, first of all, let's go, and I want you to change the, your stitch length.
To
Whatever, I don't care.
okay.
Okay. Now you notice, here's another thing that I don't know if I had said. Anytime you have something other than the default on the machine, it's going to be yellow. So you are at yellow, you change the stitch length. All right, now I want you to go ahead and touch, it looks like a little computer disc under, go ahead and touch
A
that.
floppy disk,
That's-
which
uh-huh.
like nobody uses,
Yeah.
but okay.
Okay, now I want you to turn off your machine. Yeah, I think you had to close that out, but all right, turn your machine back on.
Do what you tell me.
I know.
You said turn it off. I do what you tell me.
You're not that obedient any other time.
It's thinking.
Yep, it's got to do that BERNINA burp.
Burp.
This is when you turn on your machine in the morning and you wait and you go to the bathroom and get your coffee. Then it's ready.
Burp. Okay.
All right, let's see what it did. Do you notice that when you shut it off and turned it back on, it saved what you like, what that stitch is. So let's say I don't like 2.50 to stitch with, I would prefer to have 2.0. I can go in there and do that and change it so that it permanently changes that default from opening up at 2.50 to what I like. Now you can do this on multiple stitches within your machine. So let's say, okay, now I decide I like 2.50. Now you see that it has the little disc with the line through it. Go ahead and touch that. And now it takes back to the default. So what our machine has, we just changed, I showed you how to change the default. When you turned off your machine, it saved it so that it would open up to what you wanted. But I can also do different things in the machine. So that's a permanent change. Let's close out of the eye. And I want you to change your stitch number 1 to 2.0, let's say. Okay. And then I want you to go into your zigzag, number 2, and I want you to change that to whatever, doesn't matter. All right, so now go back to number 1, and I want you to stow.
Burp.
All right, now I want you to hit number 2, and I want you to sew there. And you notice that, now you're doing what they call a satin stitch. But I want you to look at your stitch length and see that it remained in at what you changed it. Now go back to 1. Do you see that it remained what you changed it? This is what Bernina calls the temporary memory. So as long as you're sewing and you haven't turned off the machine or pushed clear, those changes that you made will remain there until you do one or the other. You push clear, you turn off your machine, or you can change it back yourself. So it is a temporary memory, which is really handy because many times we're doing multiple things on our machine when we're doing a project. Let's say you're doing applique work and you want a buttonhole stitch and you had wanted a certain thing. And then you're going to seam a seam together, but so you want straight stitch. You can bounce back and forth without having to make the changes over and over. So that temporary memory is great. It's a great thing to have. All right, now we're going to move into the eye menu some more. So I want you to touch your eye. I want you to go in, first of all, go back, I'm sorry, close that. Go into your decorative stitches. I want you to go into folder 401 and hit 401. All right, now close out of there, go, to your eye. Now, do you see it's like a triangle with an X? I want you to touch that 4 times. Now, what that's going to do, if you notice on your screen, you have 4 of those little arrowheads. So I want you to go ahead and stitch that. Now, something that you might want to know too is that when you get down to the 4th one, watch here, when it gets down to number 1, stop and push this. You didn't listen to the directions.
You said push that. I did push that.
But you have to stop and push it
I did
before
stop.
you get through the number 1. So let's.
You said stop and push it. So I stopped. And then I pushed it.
So let's cut your thread.
Okay.
And
I follow the directions and she yells at me.
Let's move over. And what I want you to do is when this gets to number 1, when you get to that last one, I want you to stop. You don't even have to stop. Just push.
I was gonna say, you don't want me to
this-
stop.
Just push this button.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. Just push the button. Watch it. Not yet. When it hits 1, now push it. Now what it's going to do is it will stop at the end of that pattern. So now I want you to go in and I want you to hit the up and down,
This one.
yes, the mirror image. I want you, now do you notice that the arrows are pointing up? So go ahead and again, when you get to 1, push your button, your pattern end button, and it will stop when it's all through. So this is a way that you can make multiple designs. So if you look at that, do you see how they're pointed end to end? Right in the center. So let's say you did that and you actually did the arrows pointing up first and then, so let's do that. Go ahead and do the 4 of them just like that, but leave it like this. When it gets to 1, go ahead and stop. All right, now go in with your eye, take it off of the up and down and put on your mirror No, yeah, just take it off of there. Now go ahead and stitch some more. And when it gets to the one, stop. You know, go.
What happened?
I don't know. That was weird.
I think we had a little meltdown there.
I think we did. So what?
Oh yeah, look at.
Yeah, it did something. So what it actually well, it did something here too.
Yeah. I don't know what I did. I pushed something.
Yeah. So anyway, you could reverse that, and you would have the widest part of the arrowheads on top of each other. Well, next to each other.
I'm trying it again.
Okay.
Okay. Off. I don't know what happened there. We had two little partial ones that came in there.
I'm not quite sure there. But do you see how you change the center of that? Now they're butting up against each other, and it just gives a design effect. It's just showing you that there are multiple things that you can do with one design, you know, and play with it. The problem is we have all of these different things on our machines, and we usually straight stitch. Instead of sitting down and actually playing with it, you could use a lot of these decorative stitches in your quilting. You could quilt with them.
You could put a binding on a baby quilt with these.
It would be really cute to do different things. Okay, so and with that, we're going to go ahead. Now, one thing that I want to say is that this triangle here, you can do up to 9 different repeats. So go ahead and it'll go all the way up to 9. And then it'll go back to 0 with that. But if you notice, it's going to repeat. If I put in those 9, it's going to repeat over and over and over. And that's why you're going to use that pattern end. I know what you did. We were pushing pattern begin.
Oh, geez.
On the 790, this is pattern begin. This is pattern end here. We're good teachers.
We're very good teachers.
All right. Let's do the needle stop up and down and just show them kind of the freehand system.
What?
We're gonna on page 13.
Do we have our freehand? Do we have it?
Well, we can
Vanilla?
use. No, it doesn't work. I couldn't get it to work on that one. I don't see it. There it is. It's all the way back. Right there.
Oh. Okay.
Now this is what I prefer.
It may not because of this.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
It won't.
No,
It's the wrong angle. So we're not going to do that.
Yeah, can't work it. But you can still do this with the hover.
Okay.
So, all right, we're going to stitch. I want you to stitch a design sort of like this. Just copy that. So if you want to show them in the book on page 13.
Okay.
So go ahead and do a straight stitch all the way down. Well, down some. Okay, and now stop. Your needle is in the down, your hover is working. Now your hover is working. And you're able to, that's the nice thing about with the hovering, you're able to manipulate your fabric in all directions. Okay? Now you can also do that with your hand. This is hands-free too. So if you had your knee lift in, which is what I prefer. I don't use my hover. I prefer my knee lift. And I know, and I think I do because That's what I've always used when on my Berninas. I've got used years ago to the knee lift, and that's what I prefer.
She got a knee twitch.
So that is your hands-free, being able to manipulate. We've talked about securing stitches. We talked about permanent back stitch. Now we're going to talk, we've also talked about mirror image, and we've done this, but we're going to do a couple more. I want you to go into your quilting stitches, and I want you to go to your blanket stitch, which
Double or
is
regular?
well, we're going to do both. 1329, okay? And I want you to stitch a little bit with that one, like that. Now, know that you can change the stitch width and the stitch length as you're even sewing. So go ahead and change some things and just get it where you want it. So you can change the stitch length if you want it in between. All right, now stop there. Don't cut your thread.
Ooh, that tunneled.
Yeah, and here's the thing that you have to realize is that when you're doing decorative stitches and that, you need to use stabilizer behind it, a tearaway stabilizer, because it will tunnel if you don't. All right, so now go into your eye, and we're going to do some mirror image. I want you to do the left and right mirror image. That's up and down. There you go. All right, now stitch. So therefore, now you've reversed that. So sometimes, you know, people want it, they like to set it up a little bit different. So you can go in there and do that. Now, go ahead and push the up and down mirror image. You notice that it really doesn't do anything? I mean, when up and down is the same, whether I have it in the going up or I have it going down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same. So when you have a symmetrical design, even in your decorative designs, it's up and down isn't going to change it. And sometimes even left to right won't change it. But if it's asymmetrical, it will. So it's just a matter of playing. Now you change it in the opposite direction.
It'll look better on the smaller stitch. It's not tunneling on the smaller stitch. There you go.
All right. So you also, in this, go ahead and close out of the eye and take off your, okay. Now you can look at your eye and see that there's yellow around it. That's saying that you've done something in there to change. So unhighlight that. There you go. Now you can close out of there. And go down to the next 1330, I think it is. This is your triple blanket stitch. So this is going to make it, it's going over the same threads over, I think 3 times it does it. And so it makes it look like you've used a heavier thread.
It's a beautiful, I use this all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's really a pretty stitch.
Especially if you use embroidery thread.
Right, yeah. If you're using like isocord and that, it's gorgeous. And this one also, you can change your length and your width. So you would set it up to how you like it to look. All right, we can go ahead and close out of there. So that's what your mirror image can do. You can change it right or left, up or down. You know what? It reminds me of almost pin stitches. It's like it reminds me of that.
PT.
It is.
Okay.
All righty. We've talked about pattern function and done some of that. Now we will talk about, let's go ahead and talk about pattern, repeat, and elongation. So I want you to go into your folder, your decorative folder 400 again. and I want you to hit, let me see which one that was. 416. Okay. So now I want you to go into your eye, and I want you to hit the X where the X is there at the top. I want you to hit 1. Okay, and then we are going to, I want you to go ahead and stitch that out. When you get to the end, towards the end of that, I will push your pattern end, which is the bottom one. We go to, now it's going to stop. Now I want you to hit the, there's a,
Oops.
okay, there's a triangle. This is your elongation. So go ahead and change that. I think they're telling us to increase, what are they saying? Go ahead and increase it to 200%. Let's see what that does.
Oops. Okay. Oop. There.
Okay. Now go ahead and stitch that out. If you look on your screen, do you see how it has elongated the design? So you could do this on the,
I did not hit the,
yes you did.
no I didn't. I took my foot off the foot pedal.
No, you hit it. Your finger was up there.
No, the cutting, the thread cutter.
Oh, the thread cutter? Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Anyway, well, but look at your design on here and see, do you see how it elongated it? So let's say you would want to maybe do the bottom hem of a little girl's dress and you wanted it to be scalloped. This would be a great way of doing it. You could elongate that stitch. Now I think, let's go up here. Well, so
It's very long.
yeah, so you can determine how long your scallops are doing that. So that went up to 300%. You don't have to stop it. It stops.
That time I was waiting for the thread to cut again.
Oh.
So I'm taking my foot off, making sure I'm not accidentally hitting it. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Oh, you might, yeah, okay.
I
see
thought
what
maybe
you're
I was
saying.
hitting with my
Yeah,
heel.
yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so that is the elongation on different stitches that you can do. So again, it's a matter, well, what's the right thing to do? Well, it's what you want. It depends on the design that you're doing. Okay? Now, we've already talked about altered stitches. You can go in, we'll close out of there. You can go into any of these stitches. The biggest that you can get is 9 millimeter, but you can alter the length of it all you want, or you can make that stitch smaller. It's up to you. You can play with it. It gives you the ability. Here's something that we didn't show them too.
Ah. There.
Let's go back into this. No, I don't.
She lost it, her
I
train
did.
of thought.
Oh, no. Okay. No, I didn't. Yes, I
It's
did.
back.
Yes, I did. Let's go here.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and increase this. And you see that the yellow is around it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, touch it again. And by touching it in the center, it will take it right back to the original. And so that's something that is, instead of having to go all the way down with the minus, you can just touch it and it will take it back, which is really nice in the embroidery end too, because you can do that there. All right, so altered stitches. We You can alter any stitch you want. Yep. Now we talked about, we're going to wrap this up real quick. We talked about temporary altered memory, and we have talked about permanent altered memory. So that has taken us to page 20 on in your workbook. We will tomorrow, or the next video that we do, we are going to go into our combination stitches and how to get combination stitches and so we'll talk a little bit more even about that temporary and permanent stitching. So with that, we will see you the next video again. Anything you have to say, Lisa?
Push the right button.
Push. That's right. And we'll see you again then. All right. Bye-bye.